Okay, let me start by saying my tax bill wasn't wrong. I was wrong. I do owe £10,000 in tax. Yep, that's me. You might be wondering how I ended up in this situation. I want to explain what went wrong because it might help some people in the future from making the same mistakes that I did. But I also want to tell you how I am building my finances back up with some tips that I hope will help you even if you haven't just taken a £10,000 hit to your bank account. You're expensive. Go to work. Get a job. No one's gonna hire you. You have no skills. I have been doing my taxes for years now because if you're self-employed, even if you're only making a tiny bit of money, you have to register as self-employed and you have to pay either some national insurance or national insurance and income tax on everything you earn. I know it can feel like a drag when you don't earn very much and you still have to like pay the government some money, but I think it would be even more of a drag if we didn't have like hospitals and roads. I didn't know how self-assessment worked, so I didn't do it for the first few years that I was earning money, and then I had to do a lot of it retrospectively and it was very annoying. So if you're earning any money that you're not being taxed on and you do any kind of self-employed work, please just go and register as self-employed. It's gotta be done. I've mentioned this before, but I honestly have no idea how you're supposed to like understand and navigate this stuff. My parents had never been self-employed, so they couldn't advise me on it. Me and my friends didn't ever talk about taxes. When I first realized I had to start paying tax, I was 20 and at uni. So the only conversations I really had were like where to get brunch and whether or not there was a crime-fighting vigilante living on the top floor of an asbestos-filled closed-down building on campus that always seemed to have a light on the top floor at night. Godspeed, asbestos man. So I was doing my taxes for a couple of years, all good, and then this new thing came along. I don't know if it was just new for me because I reached that point in my taxes or if it was a new thing for everybody, but it's called payment on account, and it means that as well as paying for the current year's taxes, I had to pay for the next year's taxes. Somebody explained to me once why they do this. It's like so they can get all your taxes even if your business shuts down after the first year, because lots of small businesses do. Anyway, the first time I did it, I had to pay double taxes basically, which sucked. So how it works is that you're paying towards the next year's taxes, so when it gets to that point where you have to pay for the previous year, you're like, oh, I've already paid a bunch of money towards it. I basically have nothing to pay. I'm just gonna start paying next year's taxes now. But you can voluntarily reduce the amount that you're gonna pay if you think that your earnings next year will be significantly less. So the first time I had to pay double taxes, I reduced the payment on account because I knew that my earnings for the next year were gonna be less, and that all worked out fine. But then the next time I went to do this, I just reduced it without even bothering to check my accounts. I didn't really keep very good accounts, which is something that I'm fixing. It was just willful ignorance, right? I just went, I'm sure this will be fine. I'm sure it'll be okay. And I reduced the amount again. Obviously what happened was that I didn't earn less, I earned more, and I completely miscalculated everything, and I hadn't paid enough towards the next year's taxes, so it basically felt like I was paying double taxes again, this time on a lot more earnings. I had budgeted for a bill of around £6,000, and then the bill, as you have already gathered, was £10,000. I hadn't counted my student loan at all, for example. Still paying your electricity bills, asbestos man. I will never do this again. I have not reduced my payment on account this year. I'm paying the full 10 grand, even though it really hurts, because that means that when it gets time to do next year's taxes, I'll have paid a big chunk of that off. And hopefully it won't be so painful. My savings are not in a good position right now. Generally, my finances are a mess. As you may have gathered, I am seriously bad with money because I should have had a lot more savings than I did. I don't keep track of how I spend it. I don't spend it that well. I feel anxious every time I have to check my bank balance. I put away savings only to dip into them immediately because I'm like, well, I can't not go out to dinner with my friends a bunch of times this month. I can't not buy cocktails. I can't not buy a formal bow tie for my cat. Because I'm now so low on funds, I am trying to manage my money a lot better. So please enjoy some financial tips from somebody who fucked her own finance horribly. The first thing that I'm doing is I'm managing my money in separate bank accounts. You should never open a whole bunch of bank accounts at the same time because it seems very suspicious, but over the years I've been opening them for specific purposes. It can feel messy to have lots of different accounts, but I only have them under 2 banks, so I can manage them all through 2 different online banking services. I have an account for rent and bills. I have a specific account that's for a business that I share with somebody else. I have 2 savings accounts. In one of them, I put at least 50% of everything I earn that I know I'm going to be taxed on, because hopefully that will cover the tax bill. And in the other, I put whatever percentage of my earnings every month I can put away, and the remaining money that I get from any like sponsorship deals or anything on YouTube. I find it so helpful to have these like really clear boundaries between different types of money that I have, especially having savings accounts where I can just tell myself that they are completely off limits. I know there are lots of other different types of bank accounts you can get, like savings accounts where things are actually off limits and you can't touch the money, and like there's things you can invest in. I don't don't know about these things, and I'm not going to tell you about them because I feel like I would mislead you. And I don't want anyone to hate me. I'm too bland to even have a thread on guru gossip. So the other account that I have is a Monzo account. If you have ever been unlucky enough to see somebody with a bright orange bank card and say like, oh, what's that? Then you'll have heard the spiel for Monzo. They have got the best marketing strategy ever. They made a good product and then they made it really brightly colored so you can't help but notice it. Basically, it's a card that is connected to an app, and the app tracks all your spending. It divides everything up for you, so every time you spend money, it puts it into like shopping or eating out or rent and bills. You can set budgets that you need to keep for each of those categories every month. I think I have talked about Monzo before, so I'll keep it brief. But what I do now is that I put all my spending money into that account at the beginning of the month when I get paid. Just the money that I know I'm going to spend day to day, that's how I keep track of it. The last thing that I'm trying to do is meal planning. And I don't mean like complicated meal prep and like making delicious pre-portioned food out of quinoa and hemp. I just mean that every Monday I eat the same thing, and every Tuesday I eat the same thing, and every Wednesday, and you get the picture. Not as in the same food every day, but like on Mondays I eat sausages and mash and peas because Mondays are hard and I don't want to make myself cook on a Monday. But every Tuesday I have curry, and every Wednesday I have a pasta dish. I don't think it'll get boring because it's 7 different meals every week. Obviously it's a bit flexible as well because sometimes I might go and eat out, but it means I know exactly what I need to buy at the beginning of every week, and it stops me from wasting food because it's like literally what you have in the house is the stuff to make these simple meals. You know exactly which day you're supposed to make them on. You've bought the ingredients so that they won't go off by the time you're meant to be making them. Hopefully it's foolproof. If you tend to like grab food when you're out quite a lot or not eat proper meals, or you always tend to be really overambitious with the ingredients that you buy and then they just rot in your fridge, I would recommend giving it a try because cooking can be a stressful thing for a lot of reasons and it can take up quite a lot of your time. But I think that cooking yourself a meal is one of the really nice like acts of self-care that you can do in a day. So yeah, maybe it'll work for you. Maybe it'll work for me. Who knows? So that is what I'm doing to try and build some savings back up. I am in a very privileged position and I know this. I have a job. I will be fine. Believe me, I know this could have been a lot worse. Please leave any like financial money management tips that you have in the comments below because obviously I really need them. Bye.